In a world where every fighter is defined by their heart, skill, and tenacity, there are two names that stand above the rest: Khamzat and Conor. Both men have etched their legacies in combat sports, leaving an indelible mark on the sport that will be remembered for generations. But what if they were to meet in the octagon? Imagine the clash of two unstoppable forces, each one embodying a different style, a different energy, and a different kind of hunger. What would happen if these two giants collided in an epic showdown for the ages? The anticipation, the drama, the spectacle, it would be unlike anything we've ever seen before. Khamzat Chimaev, the rising star with a savage demeanor, a fighter who's as comfortable in the striking game as he is on the ground. He's known for his relentless pressure, his ability to overwhelm opponents with the ferocity of a storm. Khamzat doesn't just win fights, he dominates them. His confidence is unshakable, and his determination is as fierce as the fire that burns in his heart. Every time he steps into the cage, you know that something explosive is about to happen. His rapid rise through the ranks of the UFC has left fans stunned, but what's even more shocking is his ability to make it look easy. But is he really ready for someone like Conor McGregor? Then there's Conor McGregor, the man who revolutionized mixed martial arts with his lightning-fast hands, unorthodox style, and razor-sharp mind. Known as the Notorious, Conor has achieved everything in the sport and more. He's a former two-weight world champion, and his presence alone is enough to send shockwaves through any arena. But for all his success, Conor's been through a roller coaster ride of highs and lows, fighting his way back after some devastating setbacks. His skill set is undeniable. There's no one quite like Conor when it comes to precision, power, and the mental game. Yet, many have begun to question whether he still has what it takes to dominate the way he once did. So, what happens when Khamzat, the Hungry Lion, goes head-to-head with Conor, the seasoned champion? The stage is set for a showdown that will challenge everything we think we know about both fighters. On one side, we have Khamzat, a man who's yet to taste defeat in the UFC and seems capable of taking on anyone. On the other side, we have Conor, a man who's made a career of proving doubters wrong and defying the odds. The story of how this fight could unfold is as complex as the fighters themselves, each one with a unique set of skills, a different mindset, and an undying belief in their own destiny. As the clock ticks down to the start of this imaginary battle, questions swirl around the matchup. Can Conor's experience in high-pressure situations withstand Khamzat's aggression? Will Khamzat's unrelenting pace break Conor's composure, or will McGregor's precision and counter-striking ability find the opening to land that game-changing blow? The answer isn't as clear-cut as we'd like to think. Every fighter has weaknesses, and no one is invincible. But in this battle of wills, the stakes are higher than ever before. With so much on the line, neither man can afford to slip up. Imagine the roar of the crowd as they enter the arena, the lights casting long shadows over the canvas as the fighters make their way to the cage. Khamzat, with his intimidating presence, eyes fixed on the prize. Conor, with his trademark swagger, striding confidently towards what could be the defining moment of his career. The octagon door closes behind them, and the world holds its breath in anticipation. But as the fighters square off, one thing becomes clear: this is no ordinary fight. In the first few moments, Khamzat's aggression is on full display. He charges at Conor, his heavy hands looking to bulldoze through the Irishman's defense. Conor, ever the tactician, moves with fluidity, dancing around Khamzat's attacks, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But Khamzat doesn't give him that moment. The pressure is relentless, and the pace is brutal. Conor's corner calls for composure, but Khamzat is all over him, constantly pressing the action. Yet, Conor's eyes never leave his opponent. He's been here before, facing off against some of the most dangerous men in the world. He's taken punches, felt the pain, and come out victorious. But Khamzat is different. His wrestling and grappling are world-class, his power seemingly endless. Will Conor be able to keep him at bay long enough to land the knockout blow that has made him famous? Or will Khamzat's constant pressure force McGregor to fight on the back foot, unable to unleash his full arsenal? The answer, my friends, is something you won't want to miss. The first round is only the beginning, and the outcome is far from certain. The question is, who will remain standing when the dust settles? Will Khamzat continue to be the unstoppable force he's proven himself to be? Or will Conor, the master of mental warfare and precision striking, find a way to turn the tide in his favor? The battle is far from over, and each second brings a new twist to the story. As the round draws to a close, both fighters are showing signs of wear. But which one will be able to dig deep, find that extra gear, and push the other to the brink? The next moments will determine everything. Who will outlast who? Who will make the one move that could change the course of the fight forever? The answer is waiting, but you'll have to stay tuned to find out. As the second round begins, the tension in the arena thickens. The crowd, who had been raucous just moments ago, now falls into a hushed silence, as though they too are holding their breath. Khamzat has shown early signs of dominance, but Conor's eyes, sharp and calculating, reveal a different kind of focus. He knows what it's like to face an opponent who seems unstoppable, to be the underdog in a fight that everyone expects you to lose. This isn't unfamiliar territory for him. He's fought giants before, fighters like Aldo, Mendez, and Diaz, each one presenting a unique challenge. Yet, he's always found a way to emerge victorious. In his mind, this fight against Khamzat is just another chapter in the story of defying expectations. Conor's supporters, packed in the stands and cheering fervently, are starting to see the cracks in Khamzat's relentless pursuit. While the younger fighter's raw power is undeniable, there's a subtle gap in his approach. Khamzat's lack of experience in high-stakes, high-pressure moments could prove to be his downfall. His aggressive style, while intimidating, is also a double-edged sword. Every time he charges forward, he opens himself up to counterattacks. And Conor, a master of timing and distance, knows how to exploit that. But Khamzat's unpredictability makes him a dangerous puzzle, one that Conor must solve quickly or risk being overwhelmed. From the outside, the fight seems like a simple clash of two fighters with contrasting styles. But as we dig deeper into the psyche of each man, the layers of complexity unfold. Khamzat isn't just fighting for a title, he's fighting for something much more personal. His rapid rise to fame wasn't built on the typical foundations of a seasoned athlete's journey. Khamzat came from a small town in Chechnya, where combat was not just a sport but a way of life. He learned early on that survival depended on the strength of one's will and the willingness to push past pain, doubt, and fear. In every punch, every takedown, Khamzat is fighting to prove to the world, and perhaps more importantly, to himself, that he is worthy of being at the top. Conor, on the other hand, carries a different kind of burden. He's already been to the top of the mountain. He's held multiple titles, earned untold riches, and experienced the world's adoration. But with that level of success comes an equally powerful weight: the expectations, the critics, and the never-ending pressure to continue to perform. Conor's fall from grace has been well documented. A string of losses, coupled with public struggles outside the octagon, left many questioning whether he would ever return to his former glory. In his mind, this fight is more than just another win. It's an opportunity to remind the world and perhaps remind himself that he still has what it takes to dominate. As Khamzat presses forward, Conor begins to sense that the young fighter is starting to tire. The relentless pace that Khamzat set in the first round is now beginning to show signs of slowing down. Conor, ever the opportunist, starts to capitalize on these moments. With every missed punch, every breath Khamzat takes a little too deep, Conor grows more confident. The crowd, sensing a shift, begins to roar louder. Conor is known for his mental game, and he's starting to play it. His words, his gestures, his ability to needle his opponent, every little thing, is designed to take Khamzat out of his zone. He's trying to chip away at the young lion's focus. But Khamzat, for all his aggression, is not easily broken. The Chechen fighter has been in dark places before, both literally and metaphorically. He's used to enduring the harshest conditions, training through pain, thriving under pressure. And as Conor starts to land some slick counters, Khamzat's anger fuels him, pushing him to dig even deeper into his well of resolve. His strikes become faster, more furious. Each one lands with the force of a freight train. It's clear that Khamzat is not just here to win. He's here to break his opponent. As the round wears on, the intensity builds. The two fighters are no longer just exchanging blows. They are in a battle of wills, a contest to see who can impose their style, their rhythm, their mentality on the other. Conor, feeling the heat of Khamzat's pressure, starts to slip into a defensive posture. He circles around the cage, eyes constantly searching for that one opening, an opening that could change everything. But Khamzat is relentless. He doesn't give Conor the space he needs to find his flow. He's in Conor's face at all times, forcing him to fight at a pace he's not used to. Meanwhile, the corner of each fighter watches intently, knowing that this fight could go either way. Conor's coach, ever the calm voice of reason, urges him to slow down and use his footwork to reset the tempo. He reminds Conor that the fight isn't over yet, that one clean shot is all it will take to put Khamzat away. On the other side, Khamzat's team pushes him forward, encouraging him to apply more pressure, to make Conor feel the weight of every move. "Finish it now," they scream, knowing that Conor's greatest strength, his composure, could also be his greatest weakness. The fans, torn between the two fighters, are growing restless. The energy in the arena is electric, as each fan clings to the hope that their fighter will land the decisive blow. The sweat on their faces, the blood on their gloves, it all tells the story of a fight that could be over in an instant or stretch into an unthinkable war of attrition. But something unexpected happens. A momentary lapse in Khamzat's aggression, a fleeting instance when his guard lowers just slightly. It's just enough for Conor to pounce. He strikes with lightning speed, a perfectly timed left hand cutting through the air with surgical precision. The crowd explodes. The impact is so clean, so precise, that for a split second, everything goes still. Both fighters are frozen in that moment, as though time itself is holding its breath. Is it enough to end it? Is this the turning point in a fight that has already proven to be one of the most intense in recent memory? The answer hangs in the air as Conor watches Khamzat, waiting for a sign. But Khamzat's eyes that have stared down much worse narrow. He's not done yet. And this fight is far from over. The crowd's roar reverberates through the arena, but there's a strange silence that falls over the two fighters in that moment. Conor's eyes widen for a fraction of a second as he sees Khamzat's body stagger. The young lion had been caught. This could be it. The punch that Conor had been waiting for, the one that could change the entire course of the fight, has landed with perfect timing. But just as quickly as Khamzat stumbles, his instincts kick in. With a guttural growl, he recovers, pushing off the cage with a burst of raw power that's almost impossible to comprehend. In a single motion, he closes the distance between them once again, and the fearsome intensity that had momentarily waned is back in full force. It's a reminder of the sheer willpower that fuels Khamzat, a fighter who simply refuses to stay down. Conor, realizing that the window of opportunity may have already closed, takes a step back, recalibrating. The game has shifted. In that fleeting moment of hope, the scales tip slightly in his favor. But now, with Khamzat back at full throttle, Conor feels the weight of the fight bearing down on him once more. The Irishman's pulse quickens as he knows that if he doesn't capitalize soon, Khamzat's relentless pressure will swallow him whole. The clash continues, each strike from Khamzat like a sledgehammer, landing with bone-crushing force. Conor is forced to move, circling around the cage, evading Khamzat's wild attacks. There's a fire in Conor's eyes, but there's also a deep well of exhaustion. The younger fighter's pace is unforgiving, and Conor's past battles are beginning to show. His movement isn't as crisp as it was in the first round, and his breathing is labored. He's been in wars before, but this one feels different. It's not just physical. It's mental. He's facing a beast who doesn't know how to quit, a fighter who has never tasted defeat, and with every second, the pressure mounts. But then, just as Khamzat goes for another heavy right hook, something unexpected happens. Conor, with his back against the cage, feints left, then pivots, ducking under Khamzat's punch. It's a movement so fluid, so sudden, that Khamzat doesn't have time to react. Conor's counter is swift. He catches Khamzat off guard, landing a clean right hand that snaps the younger fighter's head back. The crowd is stunned into silence. For a brief moment, everything seems to stop. Khamzat stumbles again, his vision momentarily blurred. This isn't just a punch. It's a reminder that Conor McGregor is still dangerous, still capable of ending the fight in a heartbeat. But Khamzat's resilience isn't just about physical strength. It's about a mentality, a hunger that drives him beyond the limits. With blood dripping down his face, he shakes off the punch and snarls, almost like a wild animal that has been wounded but is now even more dangerous. His eyes narrow in a look that tells Conor everything. Khamzat is coming for him with everything he has left. And that's when Conor realizes the stakes have just gone higher. This fight is no longer about proving a point to the fans or his critics. This fight is about survival. What neither of them knows, however, is that a third player has silently entered the equation, the arena itself. The lights flicker for a split second, and then, as quickly as it happened, they return to full brightness. It's subtle at first, but then Conor notices something strange. The floor beneath their feet seems to shift ever so slightly. The air is growing thicker. He can feel it. The ground shakes as the fighters continue to exchange blows, and for a moment, it feels like something is off. Almost like they're not fighting in an arena at all. In the midst of the chaos, the crowd's voices grow distant, as if muffled by an invisible barrier. Time itself seems to stretch. Neither Conor nor Khamzat acknowledges the strange sensation, both fighters too focused on each other, too consumed by the fight. But the subtle shift in the atmosphere isn't lost on the fans watching at home or those in the arena. Something is happening, something that goes beyond the physical battle. Back in the octagon, Conor, bloodied and bruised, but ever calculating, circles around Khamzat. He knows this fight isn't just about power anymore. It's about smarts. It's about figuring out how to survive this storm and, if he's lucky, deliver that one punch that could end it all. Khamzat, sensing his opponent's weariness, grows more vicious with each movement, pushing Conor into the cage once again. His rage, once contained, is now unleashed, and it feels like an unstoppable wave crashing down. He's more than a fighter at this point. He's a force of nature. Conor's back is against the cage now, and Khamzat begins to unload a barrage of elbows, knees, and fists that seem to have no end. Conor ducks and dodges, desperately trying to find an opening, but Khamzat's pressure is suffocating. The Irishman's head snaps back as another vicious uppercut lands clean. Conor stumbles, his legs wobbly, but he manages to keep his balance, desperately clinging to the idea that his moment is still coming. But Khamzat can feel the end drawing near. He can smell victory. One more solid strike, and it's over. And just when it seems that Khamzat's relentless assault is about to reach its crescendo, the impossible happens. The lights flicker again, this time much longer, and the entire arena shakes. The crowd gasps, unsure of what's going on. Conor, eyes wide, looks around. Something is wrong. He glances at Khamzat, who seems to be equally confused. The floor beneath them shifts once more, this time violently, and suddenly the entire structure begins to collapse. It's not just a glitch, it's real. The fight, the tension, everything comes to a halt as both men stumble, trying to steady themselves in a world that seems to be crumbling. The entire arena is in chaos. Fighters, trainers, and spectators alike are gripped by confusion. The once solid ground is now a shifting mass beneath their feet. Both Conor and Khamzat lock eyes, a moment of shared disbelief, yet the fight between them hasn't stopped. It's still there, burning fiercely in their hearts, but now it's about something much larger. With the world around them crumbling, both fighters are left to face not only each other, but an unknown force that could change everything. The battle for supremacy is far from over, but what exactly are they fighting for now? The stakes have never been higher. The arena, once alive with the thunderous roar of the crowd, now feels like an otherworldly void. Conor and Khamzat are no longer just fighters in a cage, they're survivors in a war zone, with the very ground beneath them giving way to chaos. The lights flicker again, and the noise grows deafening as the walls tremble. Fighters are scrambling to find safety, the once mighty octagon shaking like a leaf in a storm. But amidst the pandemonium, something strange happens. The chaos is replaced by an eerie stillness, like the universe itself has paused to take a breath. Conor, ever the pragmatist, glances at Khamzat. There's no sign of fear in the young Chechen's eyes, only focus, and a burning intensity that matches Conor's own. They both know this fight has changed in ways neither could have predicted. It's no longer just about skill, speed, or strategy. It's about survival in a situation none of them could have prepared for. For a brief moment, they lock eyes, and in that exchange, a strange understanding passes between them. They're no longer just opponents. They're two warriors caught in a storm far bigger than either of them. The ground shakes again, and this time, it's not a malfunction. It's something deeper. A force, some power, some force of nature has suddenly taken hold of the arena. The lights flash once more, and the walls, which had seemed solid just moments ago, now begin to crack, revealing something dark and unknown behind them. The crowd, once so certain of their position, is now screaming in terror, unsure of what's happening, unsure of what's coming next. Khamzat, breathing heavily, turns to Conor, who raises his fists in a defensive stance. They've never faced an enemy like this. The fight, their rivalry, seems so small in comparison to what's unfolding before them. And yet, as the chaos continues, both fighters instinctively step toward each other, not out of hostility, but out of necessity. Something bigger than pride is drawing them together. They have no idea what's happening, but together, perhaps they can survive whatever is coming. Then, in the middle of the confusion, a loud roar erupts from behind them, and the earth trembles violently. The walls of the arena shudder, and the center of the octagon gives way, revealing a deep chasm that had previously been hidden beneath the floor. Khamzat stumbles backward, just narrowly missing falling into the abyss, while Conor grabs the cage for balance. They both stare at the gaping hole, a dark void that seems to pulse with a strange energy. The fight, at that moment, becomes secondary to survival. Conor steps forward cautiously, his eyes narrowing as he tries to make sense of what he's seeing. The chasm isn't just a hole in the ground, it's something much more. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the darkness, tall, cloaked, and shadowy, like an ancient guardian of the arena itself. It's something neither fighter expected, nor could have anticipated. The crowd's screams have reached a fever pitch, but it's the fighters who are frozen now, caught in the grip of a new, unimaginable force. The figure speaks, its voice low and commanding, echoing through the shaking arena. "You were never meant to fight each other," it says, its words reverberating like a distant thunderclap. "Your paths were chosen to intersect for a reason. The arena was always a test." Khamzat and Conor exchange a look, both struggling to understand what is happening. Was this some sort of divine intervention? Had they unwittingly entered a realm beyond their comprehension? The questions race through their minds, but before either can speak, the figure raises its hand and the arena goes silent. "What you fight for is far more than fame or titles," the figure continues, its voice growing louder. "You were brought here to prove something, to face the ultimate test of strength, mind, and spirit." It pauses for a moment, allowing the weight of its words to sink in. Then, with a sudden motion, it gestures toward the chasm, and a blinding light erupts from the abyss. Without warning, both Conor and Khamzat feel themselves drawn toward the light. They fight it at first, each of them pulling back, instinctively resisting, but there's something in the energy that compels them forward. The darkness is overwhelming, and they realize there is no turning back. Together, they step into the light, and the world around them shifts. The crowd's screams are replaced by silence, and the darkness that once surrounded them gives way to a new reality, one where they are no longer just competitors, but something else entirely. The arena fades away, leaving only the two fighters standing side by side in an infinite expanse of light. For the first time in what feels like forever, both Conor and Khamzat take a deep breath, their tension melting away. They are no longer opponents. They are no longer warriors fighting for glory. In that moment, they are something more, something that transcends the cage and the rivalry. They are a part of something greater. The figure, now fully revealed, steps forward. "Your fight was never truly against each other," it says again, but now its tone is softer, more purposeful. "It was a test of your will, your strength, and your ability to face the unknown. You are no longer bound by the limitations of the arena. You have passed the test." Conor looks at Khamzat, a smirk forming on his face. "Guess we both made it," he says, his voice low, but there's no sarcasm in it. Only understanding. Khamzat nods, his expression unreadable, but there's a flicker of respect in his eyes. "For now," he mutters, knowing full well that their paths may cross again, but not in the way they once imagined. And as the light surrounds them, they both realize that the real battle wasn't about victory or defeat. It was about growth, understanding, and the willingness to step into the unknown side by side.